We got a little bit of something for Bellular to watch. This is why WoW has stopped selling well as it should. I'm guessing he meant as well as it should. Well as it should, okay? Selling well as it should. Let's see why Bellular thinks WoW doesn't sell as good as it used to. I've been wanting to watch this and haven't had a chance to yet. Don't know what he's going to say here, but let's get into it.
Warcraft has lost its way. That's a large proclamation. I do not mean that the game is bad. If you've been paying attention to this channel, for months we've been saying that Dragonflight may be the best WoW has been in a decade. Content cadence, reaction speed to feedback, quality of changes, quality of content, it's all there, but something is missing. And it's missing goddamn bad. Here is where I'd like to make a comparison.
What's missing?
To that Simpsons episode. The one where Bart sold his soul and later realized that nothing's quite right without it. But modern WoW actually does have a soul. You can tell. Designers across the game are pouring themselves into their work. Between the stories of love, of loss, of everything in between.
Blue Dragonflight
play the Blue Dragon questline. Gear looks better than ever. Items are way more interesting.
True.
There's so much dialogue in quests that you really do get a feeling these aren't just NPCs, but are fully realized characters in the world.
Yeah.
So, why does it feel a bit hollow? In crawling the darkest depths of memories and data to find out Warcraft the IP is missing, we have developed a hypothesis. There are two major things that Warcraft is missing, and a third, which is our sponsor. AG1 by Athletic Greens, because why not get the ultimate nutritional insurance policy?
Yeah, we got
I've been
the ads
slurping
now.
down
Great.
AG1 for years, long before they reached out to us, so I'm very happy to have them on the team. Right, AG1 is a vitamin, mineral, and probiotic drink
My man
that has
Bernie
got
Viking
your
coming in here.
foundational nutritional bases covered. And that's why I like it. Just nice, simple, all in one. Drink it every morning. Done. Now, I love this because it's packed with
You think it's the fact that you can buy stuff with
my gut
money?
health. You see, your gut is like the friggin' mastermind of your body. It is so important.
You might be onto something on Real Blue,
microbiota,
considering Trader's Tender is now going to become
orchestrating
available
your
for money as
brain,
well
your immune
soon.
system, lots of things key to your overall health. AG1's probiotics support
we'll
optimal
see.
gut health. I mean, seriously, you've got all these. Like,
I want to see what he has to say, but yeah, definitely the WoW token and things like that did change things. The WoW store in general did change things.
Working for you for free. But that's not all. AG1 also contains a mix of adaptogens, vitamins, minerals, essentially making sure that your nutritional needs are met. And also, tastes brilliant too. So if you're ready to give AG1 a shot, visit athleticgreens.com/Bellular, and they'll hook you up with 5 free travel packs, which is perfect for just whenever you're on the move. And as a bonus, they'll throw in a year's supply of vitamin D3 plus K2. So don't wait and power up your health at athleticgreens.com/Bellular. The first is obvious. It's just not cool to people looking at it. One of the reasons Shadowlands sold a crazy amount was because of Sylvanas. You know her, she's evil, she's cool. She fought the Lich King. You know him, he's cool, he's evil.
A lot of people outside of World of Warcraft or who had never played, believe it or not, did think this cinematic was badass. I saw a lot of good reactions to this. Like, people who knew the lore got pissed off by the cinematic, but people who knew nothing about the game were like, damn, what game is this? Holy shit. That fucking dead elf girl just fought that giant guy and won. That was badass. Yeah, so, I mean, the cinematic was cool. Just what it did to the lore was shit.
One of the most recognizable helms in all of gaming in 2, tearing a portal.
A lot of people who don't play
afterlife.
WoW know the Lich King helm and what it looks like.
Bolvar jobbing aside, it did what it needed to. It got people's blood pumping. In Legion cinematic, Varian foreshadows his own death, then he jumps off a crashing airship and fights a legion of demons in the water.
Yeah, that was
Shortly
badass.
after, he would destroy basically a Jaeger mech. Because he
fucking one-shot it too. Yeah, anybody who says humans are shit, don't forget, Varian elegantly, his hair flowing in the wind, jumped off a flying ship and fucking one-shot a giant. This had to be an elite. This was an elite. Fucking one-shot it by himself. He's a human.
He's
Fuck
just
outta
that
here. I
cool.
didn't talk shit about
Then,
humans. Come on.
in 7.2's ending,
Humans are
Illidan
shit, they
busted
die.
open a portal to Argus, said that it's time to force the hand of fate, and set the stage for incredible hype as we went
Also
into
fantasy.
7.3. As the
Only if
trailer
you believe it is.
almost screamed at us,
It's real to me.
everything has led to this. Before that, we had Warlords of Draenor, and I usually joke about heavy metal and beer, because those things
we
are awesome.
will never
but
be
that is
slaves.
basically the truth behind it. Everyone knows what's in this cup.
This was
and
a
that's
badass
why the scene
cinematic.
matters so much. Troy
Orcs fucking drinking demon blood. I mean, yeah, this was hardcore.
Baker's
was
Gul'dan
hardcore.
and Kevin Michael Richardson's Grom deliver a back and forth so low-pitched and growly you can feel your very bones rumble.
Tundra Freeze, thank you for the Prime sub. 8 months.
Everyone
Beat a
knows
Death
what
Knight
would
of
have
our
happened had Garrosh not dove in at that moment. And despite these being bad guys, everyone loved hearing
Thank you so
Grom
much, man. I
roar
appreciate
in
it.
victory, roar for freedom. The expansion itself did drop that ball, yes, but the cinematic going into it was the
WoD had one problem and one problem only. Lack of content, man. The content was not bad. Honestly, actually, I'll say 2 problems. Garrisons were kind of bad because they really did separate you from the world. But lack of content. The beginning of WoD was so hype. So hype.
the most Warcraft anything had ever been.
And then nothing was available to
and
do
the
anymore
numbers
after a while.
reflected it. Even back in Mists of
Love watching
Pandaria's
you, bro. Thanks,
5.4,
Tundra, man. I
when
love
people
having you
started
here.
to come back to the game after not vibing with early Mists, we had Garrosh destroying
Underrated
the Veil with the
expansion.
heart of an old god, while Taran Zu was trying to fight him off, leading to
Underrated.
this absolutely awesome showdown, and Garrosh cementing himself as an incredible villain. And you may have noticed right now, I'm just talking about
Yeah,
cinematics.
content is kind of an
and that's
issue
because they're the marketing
liking a
tool for the
game, true.
broad audience. For the kind
There's
of
nothing to
sales
do, it's
that
not
WoW
gonna be a
wants,
good expansion.
that's their first shot. If someone sees the cinematic, their blood pumps, their neurons fire, they've passed the first test. Then, the game has got to follow up.
Yeah.
But if they see it and don't care, and it looks mid, there's not much the game can do. You can have all the game designers, all the systems designers, all the artists in the universe, but if that trailer and that first impression is, meh, don't really see what's so exciting about that.
I
The
think-
game's screwed.
I think the trailer being meh is what really got people with Mists. Because everybody just couldn't get over the Kung Fu Panda shit, and that was it. Like, they were done. Mind you, the ones before that all had bosses, right? You had, like, Illidan for Burning Legion. Obviously, you had the Lich King for Wrath of the Lich King. You had Deathwing for the Cataclysm cinematic. Like, that was what we were used to, and then all of a sudden we got a human and an orc fighting each other, and then Kung Fu Panda shows up and stops them from fighting. And people just were not hyped for that. They didn't get hyped for it. So a lot of people never gave Mists a chance, but that expansion, underrated.
The first
Good
thing we
expansion.
noticed is the cinematic needs to focus on a villain, or at the very least, their impact. 3 cinematics in WoW's history don't have a recognizable villain as the
I
main
literally
focus,
just said
and
this, yep.
2 of them coincide with WoW's weakest launches, Mists
Yeah.
of Pandaria and Dragonflight. In the others, you have Illidan, Arthas,
I
Deathwing,
enjoyed
the
Mists a
Iron
ton, as
Horde,
did
the
I.
Legion,
It's a good
and
expansion.
Sylvanas, twice. Although in BFA, you could kind of pick your side. We'll discount Vanilla because that was a different beast entirely. And it turns
No,
out
Sam, it
that
didn't have the
villains just
jailer, but,
work, but not alone. The second thing
Sylvanas
you need
was.
is a
We
speech,
thought she was gonna be
or
the
at least
villain.
some memorable dialogue. Illidan spitting, "You are not prepared."
Yeah.
Taranis' poetic letter to his lost son.
So
Deathwing's growls of anger and hatred. Grom's incredible victory
Sylvanas can
cry.
get it, hell yeah.
Varian's musings on peace and war. All these are incredible for setting a scene, giving players the context that they'll be fighting in, and making them care.
This was a great
Combined,
cinematic, too.
the focus on a villain and a speech, usually by them or about them, sets the
Gets you
stage.
hyped to go to war, man.
It's, in marketing terms, the call to action. Everyone
Even better, it's a call to arms. It gets you excited to pick up your sword and shield and go to fight.
watching knows the mission. You gotta kill the bad guy, but it's going to be a goddamn epic adventure. The enemy is a
Right.
villain that you can see yourself in, because while they are unquestionably evil, it comes from a position you can understand. You know the saying about wanting to be someone or be with them. It's
was
kind
right.
of like that. These
Stratham
villains were
needed to
so
be purged,
iconic
guys.
that you either wanted to be them or their unquestionable evil made you want to put them down. Not like they were kicking puppies kind of evil, but it was in their very soul. Something about a villain just attracts us. Like, I don't know, all those weird people who get super horny about Ted Bundy. A good villain, a good anti-hero. Look at so many of the shows that resonate with people.
Who gets horny?
Walter White, anti-hero, as an example. Dragonflight, then, is just not cool in that same way. The announcement trailer had some stakes for Coronos, a statue we'd never met before, but positive aspiration just doesn't work. It doesn't work the same way feeling a dangerous villain's impact does. The cinematic with the two dragon-riding characters showed off Razageth amidst people whooping and cheering. There was no context for her as a villain.
We didn't really understand who she was.
It was missing that call to action, the driving force that made people want to rush out and buy the game. A powerful, corrupted thing we needed to kill.
It's infinitely better than leveling my paladin in BFA.
As a catchphrase, harness the power was a limp, embarrassingly mushy noodle.
Man. The zones are amazing. The music's amazing.
And if you don't remember, that was the marketing tagline they used for Dragonflight. No wonder people thought it looked mid. And that's why I've got some ideas on what Blizzard can do in their next expansions to get people back through sheer coolness. But before we get into that, there is that other piece of the puzzle. The cinematics not being cool is one thing, but the game not resonating with players, despite it being
I have
really
not watched Way of Water
that's
yet.
another.
I want to. Is it worth watching?
Right, time to talk about why WoW mattered to you as an IP and where it went wrong. I could be a bit funny and say, it's no longer about strong old men. The real point is, it's no longer about larger-than-life heroes. The modern era of WoW started with Legion. It was a send-off to everything that had came before. The Burning Legion finally put to an end. But cracks were starting to show in what made Warcraft what it was. But...
You see, this cinematic, what it did for me, I wasn't streaming at the time. But I told my buddies and shit, this cinematic made me want to kill fucking Gul'dan. Make it my life's mission to kill Gul'dan. I wanted to kill him so badly, because I liked Varian at the time. I thought it was cool. I was a member of the Alliance. I liked all that shit. But man, when I saw this happen, when I saw Varian go out in a puff of smoke like this...
At the end of the day, Legion
I was like, Gul'dan's such a bitch.
To
I'm going to do everything I can to gear the fuck out and go kill this motherfucker. That's exactly what I did, too.
We have to go way back. Since Warcraft
the motivation
3,
was there.
The entirety of Warcraft has been about a few things. One of them is heroism and the sacrifices that must be made to do what is right. The second, and now it is a bit of a dirty word, but it is corruption. I'd love to be all fancy and do a section in each, but the point is, Warcraft always intertwined them. The entire history of the franchise is really about how power corrupts. Every great hero is a step away from being an even greater villain. We all remember the Wrath of the Lich King cinematic, that dialogue from Terranus describing Arthas' destiny as king. He did indeed become a powerful and great king, just not the way his father had hoped. He had fallen to that Lich King corruption for all of his own reasons. He was taken from the righteous path, willing to sacrifice his own principles to achieve victory, corrupted from hero to villain. Then we've got Illidan, who fell to corruption, but intentionally. He was an outcast for betraying his people's principles for power, given a second chance out of necessity, but he made that profound sacrifice again.
The fact that Illidan has gotten
the power
this close to foul magic and everything, and is still not completely corrupted, is actually a testament to him. He's a badass.
His heroic ambitions, just like with Arthas, but with a different outcome.
We have Valpera,
he became a hero through that corruption. Grom Hellscream is on the other side of that, once corrupted by the cunning of Gul'dan and then freed. Grom's story in Warcraft 3 is of succumbing to corruption to achieve victory, just like our other two, but unlike them, he has allies to help him break free of that, to right his own wrongs, and he, of course, makes the ultimate sacrifice against Manaroth, from villain back to hero. This is a core theme repeated for years. Our major villains are heroes corrupted by power. Illidan, Arthas, Deathwing, Garrosh.
Look, I mean, Asmongold kind of talked about this at one point, but you want to know what's also in common with a lot of these cinematics that he's been showing on the screen as he's been going here? You know, what is this? What is this here? This is a big, sweaty fucking orc.
To right his own wrongs and
charging towards a giant fucking demon.
Manaroth, from villain.
We saw Varian, big sweaty man, jumping from a ship and fighting a bunch of demons. We saw orcs, big sweaty orcs drinking blood. and fighting demons. There's a common theme here. Big, sweaty men. Yes, Asmongold touched on this at one point not too long ago. He said Warcraft used to be about big, sweaty men fighting, and it's not anymore. It's about, like, elegant dragons flying around, blowing trees and shit like that. And, blowing trees out of their mouths, not blowing trees. I don't know what that would entail. But it's certainly become more less just big grunting and axe swinging, and more I don't know, fantasy storytelling. I do think that
a core theme repeated
that
for
does
years.
go to something.
Our major villains are heroes corrupted by
Trees.
power. Illidan, Arthas, Deathwing, Garrosh, even the Legion,
What
which
do they
is
all
led
have
by
in common? I
Sargeras,
don't
a
care about
titan
any
gone
of
wrong, and his armies, which he raised through promises of power.
You care, Tide.
The
Well, you're
one
still
part
sub to the game.
people don't think about as often is the other side. Heroes who don't go corrupted. In Wrath, the reason we make it to Arthas and survive the fight is work done by the Argent Crusade and the Ebon Blade, especially Tyrion. Tyrion, a man who by
They did Tyrion wrong the way they killed him at the start of Legion, man. They really did.
most accounts is basically
such a
perfect.
badass.
His unwavering faith and will to
died
do
to
what
a
is right in
mid-tier
the
raid
face of
boss
complete hopelessness
at the start of the
all the world's
expansion.
evil is what saved us in the end. What other characters do we have? Uther, Varian, Velen, Karn,
still play the
Malfurion,
game.
Thrall,
Asmongold doesn't
Khadgar.
enough set.
These characters are
Asmon still
incredible
plays too.
aspirational heroes to contrast the villains of the setting. Every single character
that
in
doesn't
WoW
mean your opinion
used
doesn't
to
matter,
be
Tidewell.
of absolutely
It does.
legendary, larger-than-life quality, whether they be good or evil. And it was this world of legends that you, the player, lived in. These heroes you'd look up to, these villains who...
Look at this.
You
What do you
always
see
knew they
here?
were just
Look at this. What's he charging in? Big sweaty man charging in to fight an undead army. Simple. We are simple creatures, us men. Now, I know there's that one woman in my chat, but for the most part, we are men playing this game. We just want to be big sweaty men fighting enemies,
heroes who
slaying
went
them with our
wrong.
swords.
But during Legion, this started to go away.
Look at this. Is what I'm talking
Those
about.
myths were slowly
Mid fucking tier raid boss. He's gonna kill one of the most badass characters in the game.
but surely being dismantled, bit by bit.
Why?
Tyrion died at the start of Legion in a way that did not match that legendary hero from
on,
Icecrown.
man. Yeah, that's so
Malfurion
sad.
was rendered once again a freaking helpless idiot, falling for the
true.
same trap he fell
at those
to
shoulders.
before, again, leading
This
to
guy works
Ysera's
out.
death. Sylvanas' more selfish ambitions became apparent in Stormheim. Khadgar, Velen, and Illidan, thankfully, did kind of keep they held the
Yeah, they
flag
had a
during that
badass moment
expansion.
at the end of
Then we
Legion.
take BFA, where things really just go off.
God.
Taronda,
this
she started
fucking
to show signs of taking that dark power for good, in a similar way to Illidan. Now, instead of letting any of that run its course or actually be cool, no, Shadowlands shoots that down. It insinuates that it was a mistake, but
Yeah.
it does so in a way that dismantles that it was ever a sacrifice.
Not big sweaty men. Okay, these are not big sweaty men fighting here. These are beautiful women, and that's okay. Women can fight too. That could be interesting as well. But like he's saying here, this fight didn't end with one killing the other or anything like that. It ended with like the Elune saying you don't deserve the gift and all kinds of weird shit.
And
Powers
it has
being
Elune
taken
turn
away
her
and
power
nobody
off
won.
right before she was actually going to do something
supposed to
with
get
it.
off to that?
And if she had have done something with it, then there would have been some more motivation and action and stakes in the plot
no idea what was
instead
going on,
of
but it was
a
cool.
cop-out. I mean, it was sort of a cool moment, but
It
it
was
never had
cool.
implications beyond her realizing that
you could have
vengeance is
finished to
bad.
it.
But thankfully, before
was
she
no
really did
climax.
anything super wrong to the characters we cared about. BFA ultimately had no through line except Sylvanas was off her rocker. War is probably bad, but then all of that ended weirdly with N'Zoth
Oh, yeah, you're talking
stealing
about
the stage in the least satisfying way possible.
Yeah.
What worked for BFA more than
That's
anything
a-
else did was obviously Sarfang. He was
There's a whole
troubled,
genre
yes,
around.
but he was the peak example of what Warcraft has always actually done right, and that is the true hero. And as I would
Sourfang's story with his son was so heart-wrenching, man. I'm not an orc sympathizer, okay, for the most part. But man, this guy's story, you could relate to it. Like as a dad, anything else, I mean, it's just such a good story. And the images they showed in these cinematics, say what you want about BFA, the cutscenes, oh, These were good.
would jokingly say,
These were good.
crusty old hero dudes. Which, when you think about the people who made WoW, that's probably what they knew and what they looked up to. It is a shame that we have not been able to take this idea of strong old man and be able to apply it to other people. Instead, everything's just got lame.
I do love me some
these
more.
Characters standing by principles in the way that just called you to arms along.
This was so cool to see it.
Shadowlands,
all these live action cutscenes for BFA were great.
Arthas was turned into a joke. Anduin's dance of dark power was forced upon him and didn't really have a meaningful impact, all while the Jailer was an extremely weak villain and nobody really did anything. Sylvanas, the main character, ultimately had a compelling story, but that was in her book, and it was also largely devoid of the kind of key moment heroism is what I'll call it, the big things that you kind of see. Oh shit, he broke through the ice cube.
Look at the Sylvanas. They're still fucking in the moss
somewhere. That wasn't really there for
two.
Sylvanas. And then in Dragonflight, we have an absolute lack of heroes doing heroic deeds. Everyone seems lost half the time, the dragon aspects are mostly doing nothing, and everything comes down to a sappy, emotionally charged resolution instead of explosive actions that roar determination. There is no visceral need to destroy villains like we had in the past. Perhaps Farak is getting there after torching Loam, but as soon as that quest ended, all the fallout was gone, making it easy to forget, and so far the 10-1 story hasn't really mentioned Farak since. Now 10-1 story in some ways is good on paper. The Black Dragons fighting over their dad's legacy, showing their character weaknesses and elaborating on how Neltharion felt. It's just, they forgot the warcraft in any of this. There's such a focus on weakness, not strength. Everyone just mopes in this universe now. When we last saw Anduin, he was moping about what had happened. Tyrande and Malfurion are just done moping. Alex Straz is depressed about the past. Nils Dormu's depressed about the future. Caligos is learning what family is, which is nice. And all that does make sense. And it is actually emotionally compelling. But there hasn't been a single heroic deed that has stolen the show in Dragonflight since Coronos, a random statue we'd never seen before, did something cool in a cinematic.
Was badass,
Not one rousing speech about standing together to defeat whatever the great evil is. Not one character standing tall in the face of despair. All the side quests are well crafted and emotionally engaging views into the hearts and experiences of the creators of this game. But it's just lacking the solid core of heroes standing strong and pushing back against equally epic villains. There's no Taranju standing alone against Garrosh. There's no
where's the "we will never be slaves" moment?
And praying for that one final blessing. There's no Yrel and Murad standing against Blackhand. No Anduin countering Garrosh's ambitions and almost dying for it. Nothing like Akama betraying Illidan to help us, righting his wrongs.
Dude, he's
kind of like what Grom did in Warcraft 3. So what's the actual solution?
Every fight and I keep pushing on. That's right.
Heroes. Heroic villains and cool cinematics. So here are two suggestions. The first is obviously coming eventually. It is the return of Yrel and AU Garrosh with their light-bound army.
Right.
In whatever way this goes down, there is a huge amount of potential for straight to the point heroism and villainy. Turalnion and Bane making each other's, factions stand against the Lightbound as they assault capital cities. Maybe even Garrosh breaking free of the Light's influence later. And Yrel, wow, she has got incredible potential for brilliant villain moments because she believes she's a hero.
Yeah.
Even inspired by your very own character's actions, you inspire her to become what she ends up being. What happens when she faces our version of Velen down? How many people can she convince to be on her side? What does the final face-off look like? That is the kind of hype that people need to be amped up and roaring at BlizzCon. The other suggestion is Night Elves. They've been long overdue some aminosity, some real, fuck this shit, I'm out energy. Having something go down in the Emerald Dream, having a host of feral, animalistic Night Elves burst out and start tearing people apart after a key...
You guys remember the cinematic where Malfurion was like in bear form, fucking up a horde envoy, right? Where he's just like darting across the screen and you don't know what the fuck it is, and he's just taking out one after another, and then he fucking grips that troll up against the tree and tells him, tell your buddies what fucking happened here. That was such a badass. That's probably the most badass moment any Night Elf has had in the game in quite a while. That's what we need. That's what we need. More badassery.
Key character perhaps gives in to the untapped power of nature. The potential there is astounding. You can imagine the cinematic Night Elves coming out of stealth, druids shifting out of tree form in a brutal surprise
Night Elves
attack.
have badass
It would also be a
potential.
real ethical dilemma for
Certainly hasn't been
Malfurion and
used in quite a
Toronto to have
while.
some agency over and to actually be heroic leaders
Yeah,
again.
when he buried the
instead
orcs
of a
alive,
bunch
right, when
of
the vines
mopey,
came up, yes.
mopey,
So
boring
badass.
characters that no one can get excited for. Just look how Blizzard dismantled Toronto as a character who could actually be larger than life and cool. Look how
There are
turned Night
hentais
Elves from
made
the
after this
thing
one.
we all saw in Warcraft 3, and that was fucking awesome, and turned them into the basically embarrassment that they are today, where the last thing the Night Elves are is cool. You don't want to be them. They're just lame. Heroes and villains are what
couldn't even be
Warcraft has
civilized.
really been about since the very beginning.
Jailer.
And that's what
This story,
Blizzard
man.
need to return it to. If they want people
I'm
to
not gonna lie,
actually
man. This cinematic got me teary-eyed. I'm telling you, father-son moment and all this, this storyline and the way it was portrayed in these cutscene cinematics were so good. And the music, oh my god,
feel the way they used to about this IP.
So
'Cause
good.
here's the thing. Dragonflight has got everything but the real core of Warcraft in it. Because if you have those epic tales
passive
of
and
heroes
just
and
useless.
villains,
Yeah.
and
Night
then
Elves
you
in
can
the
throw in the
back in the day,
emotional
Warcraft 2
intelligence,
and
the
stuff, they were not
empathy,
like
all
that.
of that stuff, the heart, the Dragonflight
Night Elves used to be
has,
aggressive and angry.
then you're going towards 10 out of 10 territory. For the longest time, WoW got by only having epic moments, by only having big heroes and big villains, but not really having much of that like
They are soft now, it's true.
emotionally deep, resonant content. Certainly
got the
nothing
tree
like the Blue
bird down, they
Dragonflight
just fucking-
quest
they just
that
ran
just
away and
dropped in the
cried.
game. So that's the deal, Blizzard. You're almost there. You just need to remember what made your franchise explode in the first place.
Big,
And it
hairy,
is certainly
sweaty
not
men.
anything that feels the way that the Dragonflight cinematic did. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, this is one of my
Let's,
favorite Bellular
make WoW
videos in quite a
really
while.
Fucking cool.
He's right.
People got to be excited about
This
this
is really
shit,
good.
right? Like that's thing number one. Have we all just lost sight of that? Yeah, it's got to be cool. It's got to
Yeah.
be cool. That, I think, is why this expansion has not done turbo well by the numbers, even though it's retaining super good. Anyhow,
very
that is
good
it for today's
expansion,
video.
but
Let
yeah.
me know what your experience with WoW has been. And do
We've had
remember,
better
if you're
stories,
watching
for
this
sure.
video, there's a very large chance that you are selection biased.
I'll never
into the
come
group of
back until
people
Bliss
who
stops
did
worrying
engage
about
with WoW, even though it was
its
no longer
ESG
cool.
score.
I would say to you, remember, all the people who didn't come back, but who were there for 5.4, for Warlords of Draenor, for Legion, for the start of Battle for Azeroth, and then think, why are they not here anymore? There are many reasons, and today's video has been one of them. Have a great
Yeah.
day, and I'll see you next time.
Very good. Very, very good. And he's right. I didn't even think about how depressing the storyline for Dragonflight is. Like, no real heroes in Dragonflight. Just people crying about the future and the past. He's right, guys. He's right. But you know what isn't right? Me still sitting here without fucking Ashkonder equipped to my back.